Thumpers? Welcome back to another episode of Hyper Heroes here on Hyper RPG.
With the quickness today.
With the quickness.
Ooh, is there a lot to talk about? No, there isn't.
No, there is not. There's not. It's another week of nothing happening.
Stuff happened.
There's some stuff that happened, yeah.
I mean, we got some good casting news. We got some good...
There's some things.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
some things. There's
Okay.
some things.
Anything confirmed though? Anything official from any studios? Any releases?
One of the things we're going to talk about. Well,
Okay.
two, I guess. One is kind of like a confirmation / exploration of what if. Wow, he's playing with stuff
Okay.
back there.
It's
Yeah.
just so they like booby trapped it with those little buzzers that it's
From Trivia
impossible
Hops,
for anybody.
Yeah.
It's impossible for Naeem. It's impossible for Lucas to get in there to get something.
Yeah, because it's full of buzzers.
Yep.
And everyone's
Yeah.
always like,
Woo,
guys,
woo,
we need you to go and get the thing under the buzzers.
And
Like,
don't make any
Oh,
noise.
God.
okay. Ooh, it's like Operation. Ooh.
Exactly.
I want to say welcome to everybody in the chat. We
Yeah,
see you
welcome
over
chat
here
room,
on
welcome
this
chat room.
side. So if you see me looking this way, I'm looking at your beautiful
Yeah.
text.
And if you see me looking this way, I'm just bored and I don't want to have anything to
And
do.
I saw
Yeah.
something offensive over
I don't want to.
here.
I don't want to interact with anything that's happening.
Yeah.
Also, thank you guys. I reached out and asked you guys to submit some topics that we could talk about today. We did it through Patreon, or if you're a sub on Twitch, you have access to our Discord, which you have not joined. Our Discord, consider joining the Patreon. We got a bunch of tiers. We're getting closer and closer and closer to our second or third goal. I think it's our third
What
goal.
do we had on the Patreon already?
Like
1,600?
We're
like
400
like-
away from our 2,000 goal.
Wow.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
we're getting
all
close.
right.
We're getting
It's
close.
good-
We're
it's
getting
there.
close.
Okay, real quick.
This
real
much
quick.
closer to Doom the Musical, you
Yes.
guys.
Doom the Musical.
100%.
Pause. Megaloblazamon. Hold that thought because we might be talking about that. But hold that thought. Hold that thought. So it's
Yeah.
gonna be good.
Just hold
It's
on
gonna
to
be
it. Just a little bit longer.
Yeah, just a little bit longer.
But
I
yeah.
only love
Yeah.
Stephanie Turner. I don't love anybody else in the chat. That's it.
Confirmed.
Confirmed.
But yeah, thank you guys so much. If you want to check it out, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/hyperrpg. Gives you access. One of the things you can access is the Discord. We have a whole movies, TV channel on there where you can interact. I'm in there pretty much all day answering questions and talking about movie stuff. There's a lot of really cool stuff in there. And I think going
get
forward.
in there, man, because
should.
it's because sometimes it's not fun to talk about movies on Twitter.
It's not.
it's
not.
No.
That's why I go into
Even
the
if
Discord.
it's positive or negative. If
Yeah.
it's positive, people will just be like, jump up your ass and be like, and you're
Yeah.
like, come on.
Well,
man.
actually. A lot of well, actually.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's what's cool about our
You say
community.
something like-
Devil's advocate here.
Yeah,
you try
exactly.
to like, say like a fun, exaggerated statement like, I love these movies. I think they're perfect. That's my favorite. And people will be like, Hector, no movie is perfect. And I'm like, did you really need to say that? Did you really need to say that on Twitter?
Yeah.
Did you really think I was being serious?
Yeah,
All
dog.
right.
Yeah, dog.
That's what's cool about our
Don't
community.
you know there's no jokes on Twitter?
I know.
Hector is
That's not a
funny.
place for funnies.
Yeah.
Not a place for Hector.
You need to
is
just change your
funny.
handle to Hector is serious.
I need to.
You do.
It needs to
need
be like
change
Hector
it.
is woke, and I'm just retweeting articles like, did you guys know this? Did you guys know this?
Yeah,
Did you guys know
exactly.
this?
Exactly.
Yup.
Yeah.
And
No.
then when you're just funny, you change it to Hector is serious.
Yes. Your Discord name needs to be Hector is funny.
Hector's funny.
Your Twitter name needs to be
Yeah,
Hector is serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really need to try to be funnier.
But that's what I love about the Thumper community and the Discord. Everyone is very welcoming, very, very friendly to each other. I've had a lot of great conversations with a lot of people about
Yeah.
movies, both TV and film. We talk about
Cool.
Star Wars and Marvel, DC, basically anything. We talk about even a lot of things that Cameron and I cover on Cineverse with Elizabeth. We talk about a lot of horror stuff. It's a really good year for horror. Hereditary's coming out. We've already had a few good horror movies.
Quiet Place.
Yeah, we've got some trailers coming for a
That
couple
movie
horror
was
movies.
great, by the way.
It was really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
There's a
So
Halloween trailer coming.
Yeah.
We've got a trailer coming for Suspiria. So there's going to be a lot of horror stuff for us to talk about. And it's cool because the conversation's kind of already rolling in the Discord. Yes, Stephanie Turner, I agree. The Discord is great.
There you
should
go,
join
Hector.
it.
That's your place to talk about movies.
That is because you know what? For real, like a couple years ago, I enacted a policy of like I will not try to speak, and I think this is just a good policy in general. Speak negatively about stuff because it like on Twitter, like it tends to not. If you don't
Yeah.
like something, why kind of go on there and be like, I didn't like this thing. Like I don't find it
Yeah.
to be super helpful.
Yeah,
But if you want to
sure.
constructively criticize a film or discuss
Right,
why it
right.
didn't work for you, like you guys know, we've all been there. We've
Yeah.
said a thing about a movie we don't like, and then,
You get attacked for it.
yeah, for
But
like years.
100%.
I do know that on Twitter, when the
Centuries.
conversation stays within our group,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a pretty respectful
Oh, for sure.
conversation.
Oh,
Like
agreed.
it's a
That's
good
true.
conversation.
Yeah, it's super
But
fun.
when other people jump in,
know.
it's just like, whoa, 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 whoa. We're like talking like normal people here.
I
We're
believe
not
we
trying
call
to, like,
that a pile of garbage.
garbage people.
Garbage.
Overreaction.
Garbage balls.
Garbage balls.
Katie Mance brought up the Schmoedown. You and I did compete in the Schmoedown.
Good job,
It
man.
was great. We had
Yeah.
a really good
Good
time.
job,
We had a
good
really
job.
good
Yeah,
time. You watched it.
I did
Well
get
earned.
Hector's comic books in the divorce, so
That's right.
So I win, basically.
I think that was my favorite tweet though, when people were saying, "Don't put Augustine in the middle of this thing," and you're like, "I'm just here with my popcorn, baby.
Yeah,
I'm ready."
eating my popcorn.
Yeah,
Just enjoying the
it's always a
entertainment.
good time to go and do that, and so funny because some of the comments, a lot of people. They write comments that are like, these people have played this game so many times. Why do they always have to ask for clarification on the rules? You guys got to remember, for me, for example, I played the game once a year.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the rules
and it's been
update
months.
and change. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Y'all watch
Also-
it every day.
Exactly.
I do not play it every day.
We compete in it
Yes.
once or twice a year.
Yeah, exactly. And they watch it all. But also, like, it's a pressure cooker up there.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
Oh, yeah.
I can imagine that you forget.
Totally,
I can
dude.
imagine, like, although Lord of the Rings stuff, I knew it because I was sitting in my,
sure.
on my couch watching
Yeah.
you guys. But then if I was up there, I'm like, who the fuck said that? I'd be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I can't
You
think.
doubt yourself.
yeah, exactly.
I forgot Jonathan Frakes right at the
The
beginning.
very first question.
And I was
You're
like,
the Star Trek
oh,
guy.
yeah. Oops. Perfect
Yeah.
storm.
When that Boromir question, I
Yeah.
was like, oh, that was Gandalf. Duh. It
Yeah.
wasn't Gandalf. It
Yeah.
was Boromir.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
And you knew that. It's just that it's like,
yeah, but
Right.
the situation made me
Pressure
think
cooker, man.
another
Exactly. It's
way.
fun.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's fun.
The other thing too is, like, the round that we played, the second round where you got opponent's choice and I picked Middle Earth.
yeah.
I completely forgot that I could steal questions.
You should have picked
Star
your
Wars.
straight.
I should have picked
Yep.
Star
Yep.
Wars
We
because I
talked
know I
about
have a
that.
little bit of an edge over you in Star Wars.
Sure.
But yeah, I picked Middle Earth, and then it's like, okay, do you have an answer? And I'm like, oh shit,
You're
I
like,
forgot.
fuck, I forgot.
I
I
forgot about
this.
this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's tough, and when you're under the pressure and you're under the lights, it's very, very different.
Yeah.
I know Schmoedown is doing a live event at the El Portal Theater this weekend. The likelihood of, I don't know if you're going, but likelihood of us being
Is it
there
sold out?
is slim to none because Zach and Malika are getting married this weekend.
That's true, that's
Oh,
true.
that's
So
right.
Yeah.
we've got a wedding happening in this house.
Congratulations. Yeah.
We've got a wedding.
A wedding! Oh! It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna be here all day hanging out doing that, which I completely forgot about. And I think I may have mentioned a couple people that I was going, but I had forgot about the wedding, so I apologize, Zach and Malika.
Work thing.
Don't.
UCLA, baby. UCLA all day.
Now I can put it right here.
So you had a great work day, apparently.
No, I had a long work day because I
Yeah.
got in late. But Ronan called out my shirt. It's not just Colossus; it's the Speedball Special.
Yeah.
The
The fastball
Colossus.
special.
Oh, yeah, sorry, fast. I'm getting. it
I thought you
confused.
were going to talk about the
Pressure
very
cooker.
Ace Ventura shirt that you're
I love
wearing.
that too.
I love
This is-
that.
I'm
That
doing
with
my
the
best,
hair.
My best Hector impression.
You know who you kind of
Today.
look like is Donald Glover Lando, right at the,
Oh,
like I'm not even
baby.
kidding. At the
Oh,
end,
my goodness.
when he has that Hawaiian shirt at the end.
Yeah,
That's
that's what
true.
I'm going for. That's what's.
That's what's
duh.
up.
You've got
That's
the
what's up.
hair.
That's good.
You've
I
got the
big
chewy.
hair.
Well, I guess I would
Got
have
your chewy right
the-
here.
are you the
No,
chewy?
you're the chewy. He's the chewy because you're
I'm
the
the
tall
chewy
one,
to your Han. You're tall, but I'm the
Yeah.
chewy to your Han. Let's be real.
and I'm the Lando.
Yeah, I like that.
I love this combo.
Yeah,
I hope
like
someone
that.
draws that because
Yeah.
that would be great.
Yeah.
That would be great. Let's get into some news topics, though.
Okay.
So thank you guys so much for submitting some topics. I kind of created my own as well to talk about because I think the solo movie is a very interesting place right now. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about Batman.
Okay.
Matt Reeves is currently writing the script. We don't really know who the villain is going to be, but apparently there are some rumblings going around that the Joker, or sorry, not the Joker, the Penguin, the other Batman villain, may end up returning to the big screen.
Danny DeVito.
No, not Dane DeVito.
He's back.
But it's the best Batman Penguin photo I could find, surprisingly. But
Yeah,
the Penguin
right?
might be coming back in the new standalone film, and apparently, if he ends up not coming back in that standalone film, there's an opportunity to bring him into the Birds of Prey movie. How do you guys feel about the villain, the Penguin as a villain? How he's been used, and what do you think? What new direction could they take this character in this new franchise?
You know what I'm going to say. I don't want him to be the main bad guy. Who do we want to be the bad guy played by Andy Serkis? Clayface.
Donald Glover.
That's right, Donald Glover.
What?
I want a big comic book Batman villain.
Yeah,
I know that
yeah.
Matt Reeves is trying to ground the world, but again, it's like we did that. We did it, and we exhausted all of the Batman villains, other than I guess Oswald Cobblepot, the
Yeah.
Penguin, that don't
Yeah.
have some kind of power or some kind of cool, thing or gimmick.
Yeah.
So it's like we got Killer Croc and Suicide Squad that opens up the world. I want to see Clayface. I want to see Mr. Freeze
Yeah.
done justice.
Yeah.
I want to see
Yeah.
Poison Ivy done justice. I want to see Man-Bat. I want to see these villains that require like CG over than just a great performance from a great actor who's just like
Right.
a criminal underlord.
Yeah.
You know
Even
what I
a
mean?
character,
Yeah, yeah, I
honestly,
agree.
even a character like Scarecrow, and I really love what they did with him in the Dark
Yeah,
Knight trilogy.
they could push it.
And I love Cillian Murphy, yeah, and I think they can go more.
They
can
did a
push it
realistic
more.
version of Scarecrow, and then even after that, we never saw him with the Scarecrow mask.
Right.
He just had these cameos as like. No, I think we saw him in
No,
the
he
Scarecrow
Dark
Mask
Knight
in
in
the
the
second
beginning.
one.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did have
But
the mask.
In
on,
Rises, he was like the judge
Right.
of the
Right,
thing, and
right.
so even that they could push further. Thank you so much, Camilo.
Camilo, thank you so
very
much.
much.
Feliciano, felicidades a tú.
A ti.
Felicidades a ti,
A ti. There you
Camilo.
go.
Thank
There
you
you
so
go.
much,
You'll get
Camilo.
there, Hector.
You'll get there
Camilo.
one day.
I'm
Also,
so
if you guys
blind.
do want to submit
Camilo.
questions through the super chat, you can do that through tipping. We'll prioritize those questions at the end of the show.
Yeah.
So all I'm gonna say is like back in the day, I remember I had my dream casting after Batman Begins. I was like, they need to bring in Philip Seymour Hoffman to play Oswald Cobblepot in The Dark Knight in the next movie, but have him
R.I.P.
not be the main villain.
Yeah.
The Penguin is a perfect, opening act character that Batman handles,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
like the guy like the guy who's good with calculation, the Chinese guy that Batman went to go get
Right, in Hong
out of
Kong?
Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Like a character like that
Lau.
can be
Right,
can
right.
be the Penguin type character
Yeah.
that then Batman pivots to like the larger threat.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Oswald Cobblepot's always going to have this presence in Gotham City. you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. And it just seems odd to focus on such an odd character. I know the Joker is also an odd character, and what's his face? God, I'm drawing blanks here.
Cillian Murphy, Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger. What Heath Ledger did with him, and what basically everybody had done with him, is great. But there's something about the silliness of the Penguin. Like it's hard to take a Penguin seriously, and we don't know the tone of this movie, so it could fit easily. But I'm in the same boat as you are, Hector. I think we need to see. We know we're getting Batman. We need to see something new. We need to see the other variety because he has the best rogues gallery of any superhero. Like,
Yeah.
let's explore some other avenues that we haven't seen yet. So,
Possibly controversial. I'm going to say it anyway.
Thank you, Adrian.
what are you gonna
I really like what Robin Lord Taylor has done with the Penguin on Gotham.
get out of here?
As-
Get out of here. I'm just kidding.
there's elements for me. I like
Yeah.
I like the concept of what they do with the character.
Yeah.
Where he's a mob boss, and in that version, because it's an origin story, he's climbing up the ranks. I don't want
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I already want the Penguin to sort of be an established sort of like we have the Falcone crime family. We've got other crime families, but I would like the Penguin and his sort of his posse
His
to be
posse of-
another sort of underground crime family of Gotham City, and to sort of build him up that way. I think that could be really interesting, but I agree. I don't want him to be the main adversary because what Penguin doesn't really bring any sort of threatening presence.
Right. He's just like another mob boss.
Yeah, I think he can be intimidating, but
Right.
I think from a mob boss perspective, not really from a fighting perspective.
You're
Like
not,
I would like someone to work with
Right.
the Penguin.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You're not gonna go like straight up fisticuffs with
Yeah.
Penguin because you're gonna punch him in his beak and he's gonna fall over.
Yeah.
But like somebody like Clayface is definitely a formidable enemy for Batman. I mean, that can be a really cool like one-on-one battle with both of them, which we haven't. I mean, we've seen Batman go one-on-one, but I mean, we've seen him versus Doomsday, didn't really do much, and we've seen him versus what other one-on-one fights have we seen him with?
I mean, I don't know about one-on-one, but you said Doomsday, and then in the next movie, the big threat for him was Steppenwolf.
yeah,
It's just for me
Yeah,
a little tough to
Steppenwolf.
go from Doomsday, the creature, to Steppenwolf,
Yeah.
to a guy in a suit who like walks with a cane and he's like a
We're going
you know
backward.
right,
a little
right,
bit. So I'm
yeah.
like, have Oswald Cobblepot be this opening number, and then the main event is another
Clayface?
villain who possesses that visual imagery and who possesses that threat, that physical threat,
Clayface.
on top of
For
the
sure.
mental threat. You know, so.
Mhm.
Yeah, because it's like if you're gonna just have Penguin just be like the mental adversary for Batman, why not do the Riddler? At least the Riddler has like
Bert.
The
All right.
Riddler's a good one.
Bert.
right. At least the
saving the
Riddler has
day.
like a lot
Bert, our
more
Lord and
more
Savior.
gimmicks other than the Penguin's. And I don't think that they should go full gimmick with the Penguin.
They shouldn't, because it's silly.
We've already seen the Tim Burton version.
Yeah.
I prefer the Penguin that's like, I have the Iceberg Lounge.
Right.
I'm a legitimate businessman.
Right.
Get the F out of my club.
Very
And
Lex
he
Luthor-y
he
type.
might have a knife in his. Ooh, and they're cold.
Ale. Here, there's an IPA for you.
Thanks, Bert.
I'll take the
Bert-
regular.
Bert is the
Actually,
house
I'll take
lifesaver.
I'll take the golden ale.
What's this one?
This is a
I
golden
completely
ale.
agree with
That's a
that.
lager.
Oh, Island Lager, definitely for sure. Thank you, Bert.
Thanks, man.
I got. What did he say? No? Did he say not to drink them? Are they poison?
What? How am I the beer drinker and I don't have a bottle opener?
I don't know, dude. Hector, you're an amateur.
Cheersies.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. And cheers to you in
Cheers
the
to
chat.
you.
But yeah, Riddler could definitely. I mean, do we want to see Riddler again though?
Well, again, it's like if we're gonna see the Riddler, we got it. We got you, baby. If we're gonna see the Riddler. You don't, just like Penguin, you don't do what Danny DeVito did. With Riddler, you don't do what Jim Carrey did. You do that character. The Riddler is basically like Jigsaw from Saw. The Riddler sets up the traps that Batman has to. I'll never forget that visual from the comics of maybe the Riddler's first appearance where like Batman and Robin are in this huge, it's almost like a little like one of those little mental puzzles that just has like not paper clips but little metal rods. And they're like impossible to undo. But you have to do it by like finding the little chinks in the barely squeezing it. And there's this great image where the Riddler's like, you can't get out, Batman, and Batman and Robin like figure out how to like move the little pieces to be able to free themselves. That kind of thing of like death trap, sort of a
Jigsaw. That's the thing though. Okay, so that's what kind of weirds me out about somebody like the Riddler. He sets up a death trap, but he sets up a way out as well. You know? He's like, oh, I'm hoping you get past this because I have a million more, but if it's really a death trap, you don't set any way out.
The scariest
your point is to mutilate and kill somebody.
The scariest villain in Batman, like in his rogues gallery, is the Riddler only if the Riddler doesn't have that fatal flaw that they wrote into the character where he has a compulsion to be caught.
Right, exactly.
That was brilliant because it afforded them to be able to tell Riddler stories forever, and it made it so that the Riddler would never go too far. Because imagine if the Riddler didn't have that compulsion where it's like, I found out who Batman was.
He'd be straight up Jigsaw.
I'm destroying his life systematically, and I'm going to kill him. And he would like see it through. But he always leaves the clues of like, you never figure this out, Batman. Oh, I'm caught. Oh, because he has this compulsion.
I left this obvious clue there. Like, come on.
Even if it's not obvious, he gets off on like Batman figuring it out because the Riddler's like, I made a good riddle. Oh, take me away to jail, Batman. Like,
I'll get
out and make a better one.
And you're like, dude, you had him.
Exactly.
You could have just not put that in there, pulled the pin, and you would have crushed him.
You literally would have just killed him.
I am kind of waiting for the moment where they do use a character, or they use the Riddler, and they do push that boundary.
I mean, look, I think there's versions of like the movie Saw. We're talking about Saw. You can do a PG-13 Saw. Sure. You know what I mean? We saw Christopher Nolan really push it with how he used the Joker in The Dark Knight. Like, you can do certain things to really make the audience wince and go
and cough and like choke on their own spit.
Little piece of spit goes on the wrong pipe because they're so
it's so scary.
So scared. All of that implied violence where the Riddler does a thing and like the strings go and you just go and they didn't show you anything. Like, you can get away with that shit. So it'd be cool to see the Riddler, for them to push. You know, and the same thing with like Mr. Freeze. A lot of these villains, Poison Ivy, can have some pretty gruesome deaths under her belt. You know, that she can like kill men with poisons and you know.
It'd be cool if she was using their bodies as compost for her fertilizer. Like, how crazy would that be?
That's some Hannibal
fucking
shit.
Morbid.
That's awesome. Hannibal.
Right, that's Hannibal. He fed people to pigs.
Jigsaw, Hannibal.
Come on.
Yeah, that's dope. And they could do that. But at least with all those characters we just mentioned, like, they do have that visual, that hook, as opposed to the Penguin, who I don't want them to have like Ben Affleck go up against another guy with a giant rubber ducky. I'm like, that's dumb. Like, it should just be the Iceberg Lounge, just like Batman the Animated Series, the second iteration of the Penguin, where he was just a guy in a suit, a little proper gentleman with the pointy nose.
He goes like this, though?
Yeah, I feel like he kind of like would
like an awkward guy.
Yeah,
like an awkward guy.
He had like an umbrella under his arm, and was like, ladies,
would you still have him have the clubbed hands though?
No,
give
him
clubbed
fingers.
hands.
No,
okay.
Because this is so Tim Burton.
Yeah. I mean, it is.
Leave that to him.
To me, Penguin was always like, yes, they always drew him kind of very much like it on the comic books, but to me, Penguin was called the Penguin because he had kind of like this like pointy nose, this maybe awkward looking face.
He kind of looked like a bird,
a little bit, He has got this like bird look to him.
Yeah,
this, like again, like the Gotham show. I think that actor very much has that sort of like the right angles to make it look like a penguin. But then, you know, his height could play into it, or it doesn't have to. I don't know.
It doesn't have to, because there are some tall penguins around. It's just, you don't have to follow it verbatim. I think all you honestly need is just a really nice suit.
It's a
just a really, because they call people in suits like penguins. You know, like it's a penguin suit.
I've always pictured it as like Goodfellas.
Right.
He's almost like a Joe Pesci.
Yeah,
where
exactly.
someone's like, hey, boss, anybody ever tell you look like a penguin? And he's like, what did you say?
And then straight up murders him.
What?
You know, just boom, kills a guy. And he's like, anybody else in here want to call me the Penguin? And everyone's like, no, boss. And he's like, I am the Penguin. Like, it's this thing where like he embraces that nickname that people were trying to make fun of him because he's short, because he's a little overweight, because all this. That he's just like, yes, I'm the Penguin. I'll fucking kill you.
Yeah, I'll murder you in the face.
Call me the Penguin one more time.
What a movie that would be.
But like 30 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
So good.
Yeah. I'll fucking kill you.
He's so good. Yeah.
Someone did tweet Nick Frost asking him if he'd be interested, and he said, "Yeah, I'm into it. That'd be cool. I'm into it."
Nick
Oh,
Frost.
what a
Yeah.
great picture.
to
Look
be
at that.
Penguin? Oh, that's actually pretty good.
That's amazing. Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be fun. I think.
Would he have that accent, that like 1920s mob boss?
I mean,
yeah, see?
I would be okay with his British accent.
Yeah.
That would be
Oh,
another
yeah,
thing
that would be
like
cool.
they
Wasn't
could
he
add to.
Wasn't he in the '97 version of Batman, the Batman Superman Adventures? Did he have was he British or no?
Like he did a
British
voice.
accent? No, not Nick Frost, but the
Oh.
interpretation of the Penguin. Didn't he
I
have a
think
British
he had
accent?
like a what is called like a mid-Atlantic accent,
Oh,
which
okay.
is like a
Ah.
hoity-toity, like
Gotcha.
it's
That very
technically American, but
yeah.
very proper and prim, and they know how to pronounce every one of
Oh,
their
yeah,
words.
Yeah.
You're right. I
Yeah.
thought
So
it
there's a
was-
little
okay.
bit of an accent, but not quite. It wasn't quite like all the way British.
Yeah,
chaps.
yeah, yeah.
It was a
Ooh,
little.
that's good.
That's
I'm
terrible.
terrible at
But-
accents except for
but
the
if-
Cholo one. So.
But if Nick Frost was used as British accent, imagine a guy that was British and looked like Nick Frost and wore really nice suits. It would add to him being
yeah,
the Penguin.
that's all you
right?
would need. That's really all you would need, and you would have to get rid of the beard
For sure.
But, of course.
But he would come out clean. You know, he'd like look good. Like it'd be great.
I feel like we're on the plus side of saying like, yeah, it could work.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah, I would
it could-
actually. Yeah, and I think that it would be fun to see the Penguin actually cut loose a little bit and be comedic because Nick Frost is funny.
Yeah.
That maybe let him be
Ah.
somebody who has fun with it.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, I'm the Penguin. Everybody, it's a fucking penguins here, and then he
Yeah.
kills a guy.
and then he
you know,
murders dudes
Yeah,
with
but
his
can kind of-
penguin-shaped AK-47.
You know, when Batman shows up, he does some physical comedy or something, runs out of there. I don't know. That was very Chris Farley, right?
Yeah, that was.
So you want Beverly Hills
penguins are more
Ninja in a
like
penguin suit?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll
I just
see.
want Chris Farley back. That's all.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Why,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know.
Yep.
Sorry.
But if you guys have any castings for the Penguin or any other character that you would like to see in the Batman movie, let us know. I'm really interested and curious to see
Yeah.
what other characters. 'Cause I think some people would like to see old villains who've been in previous movies.
Yeah.
Some people want to see brand new villains that we've never seen in a Batman movie before.
Let's go brand new, baby.
I'd love to. I'd love to.
I think a
Hope
nice
to.
combination would be great.
Yeah, could be fun. Let's talk about some Spawn casting. This was a very interesting
Yeah.
piece of news that dropped this week. Spawn, the brand new film that's coming from Todd McFarlane, has found its lead. Academy Award winning actor Jamie Foxx is going to
son.
play Spawn.
Did you know Pooch knows him?
Pooch
has
I
been
think he's mentioned
Pooch
it
has
before.
been over to his house.
Nice.
Pooch has had conversations with the man.
About
Nice.
Apparently,
Spawn?
no,
Or
just
anything-
Jamie Foxx.
That'll
Anything
be-
comic book related?
Com-
No,
Conversations
I mean
about Jamie
this was so when I talked to Pooch about it, this was before he was talking. I think it was post Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2,
Okay.
but pre-Spawn.
Gotcha.
So
Well, apparently
that
this
decade in
Spawn
between.
thing has been in the works for 5 years. Apparently.
Yeah. So I guess Jamie Foxx had approached Todd McFarlane 5 years ago and had asked him and talked to him about the Spawn character. That he's very intrigued and interested in
Yeah.
the Spawn character, and it's a role that he very much would like to play. And Todd McFarlane, when he was he's been developing this movie for a long time.
Yeah,
also.
years.
Years,
More than 5 years, I
Yeah,
feel like.
definitely
Yeah.
more than 5 years. A long, long, long time. He's writing this movie and he's directing. It's gonna be his directorial debut.
Todd McFarlane's directing
Yeah,
this.
he's directing this.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
exciting.
That's
actually.
exciting,
That's
yeah.
really
Okay.
exciting.
And when he talked about
Wow.
once they sort of got the deal done for him to actually, Blumhouse came in, they greenlit the movie. It's now a moving thing. They asked him, who do you see as Spawn?
yeah.
And because of the conversation he had
Yeah.
with Jamie Foxx 5 years ago, he said, "My first guy that I'm going to is Jamie Foxx to see if he wants to do it. And until he says no, I don't want to hear anybody else's name."
Wow.
And thankfully it worked
Wow.
out.
I
So
love
Jamie
that.
Foxx is now playing Spawn, a character
That's
that
interesting.
he very much cares about. He's very interested in, and he's very invested in. So I think this is a great pairing. And Jamie Foxx, I know that there's been movies in his recent years that maybe have not done so well, but I think he's a great, very extremely talented actor. Some of my favorite roles of his,
Yeah.
other than obviously Ray.
Yeah.
I thought he was great in Collateral. I think in a lot of movies that he's been in,
Yeah.
he at the very least gives a good performance, sometimes in a bad movie. But I don't know how you
Yeah.
guys feel about the Spawn casting and this movie in general.
I think it's really, really good casting.
Yeah.
If there's two things, right? It's just like when we talk about Ava DuVernay saying Big Barda was her favorite. She either already knew about Big Barda, which is awesome, or she was pitched it, which is awesome. Jamie Foxx, I feel like it's the same thing. He already either knew about Spawn, and Spawn's a pretty big character. He's had his
Yeah.
own movie.
Yeah.
Michael J. White played him.
Yeah.
That like either he already knew and researched Spawn on his own and actually came to care about this character, which is awesome, or at some point somebody maybe pointed out to Jamie Foxx, or maybe he figured it out himself. There's a lot of superhero movies being made. There's not too many
Yeah.
superhero roles left.
Yeah.
Not too many left for black actors.
Yeah.
those have been going the way of
And he did Amazing Spider-Man
TV,
2.
he did
not
Amazing
so
Spider-Man
much.
2.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's like it's not a dumb thing as an actor right now to like consider doing this
To
kind
jump
of
on that,
movie.
yeah. Mhm.
So I'm sure he looked at all the potential characters there were left, and Spawn is at the top of the indie comics pile.
Totally.
He already had a movie that
Right.
is so smart to remake and redo this movie because I think you can improve on it. You know what I mean? As opposed to
Absolutely,
like
absolutely.
taking on a beloved character, it's like,
Yeah.
oof, okay, you're gonna step
Right,
into
right,
Superman's
right.
boots. That's a tall order because it's Christopher Reeve and so on and
Right.
so. Not that Michael J. White didn't do a good job, but people don't love that movie
Right.
the way that they love other superhero
Yeah,
things.
people seem to not like the movie, but they seem to like
oh,
Michael J. White as
and
Exactly.
yes, as Spawn, and they
Exactly.
love the character Spawn. But like, think about like the character Blade,
Mm-hmm.
another prominent black superhero character. Everybody still to this day,
Wesley Snipes.
they're still like, bring back Wesley Snipes, and it's
Yeah.
like you can't do that. That's like a Batman fan saying, bring back Jack Nicholson for the Joker
Right,
in the middle
right.
of the Nolan trilogy.
Right.
It's like that's not gonna work. But that's because everybody loves Jack Nicholson. Everybody loves
Right.
Snipes.
Yeah.
So that I think that's like a tough role to try to go
Yeah.
and be the next iteration of.
Yeah.
Cut to Spawn. Nobody has that love for that movie or for that character really, but everybody knows Spawn, and there's a lot of potential of like do the best possible version of this movie. He's kind of an unknown, but he's still known. So it's just like a smart call.
Yeah.
And if somebody
Yeah.
pitches to Jamie Foxx and he was excited enough to like pursue it, great. He's a great actor.
I'm interested to see what vision he has for it, because if he's Jamie Foxx strikes me as the kind of guy that when he loves something, he really loves something.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure, I don't know for sure, but if he had sort of that love for Spawn way back in the day, even before this was in talks of like
Yeah.
even coming back, I think that this movie is sort of in its prime right now to be made, only because I feel like back then it was such a CG heavy movie,
Right.
and the CG was not there to create what you needed to
No.
create, and I think that's why a lot of people didn't latch onto it.
Yeah.
Because if you think about the previous sort of big CG movie, maybe Jurassic Park, where
Terminator
people,
2.
Terminator 2, where it wasn't effects heavy, but people, like even nowadays, it's hard to tell the difference between the practical and the CG T-Rex in Jurassic Park. And so back then, the cape and sort of like the weird
Yeah.
alien
You needed
monster
money,
clown
dude.
things
and it probably budget-wise, it
weren't
probably,
there.
Yeah.
And like,
I mean, put it
Yeah.
this way: it came out the same year as Batman and Robin,
Right.
and at that point, the only thing that people had sort of accepted as mainstream superhero movies,
Yeah.
was the Batman series.
Yep.
yeah,
There
absolutely.
was nothing else. It was a year
Absolutely.
before Blade, and
Yep.
even Blade, like to all of its credit, Blade was very much an underground sort of like
Yeah.
B movie kind
fucking
of.
What was it,
that
like
movie,
New Line
man.
Cinema? Who
New
made
Line-
that?
New
Yeah,
Line,
man.
yeah.
Dude. And they
That
also
movie
did
was
Ninja
so good.
Turtles. They also
Yep.
did, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I do get the people who say, why did you not just bring back Michael J. White? Physically, he is Spawn. I totally get that. Part of me is also like, well, the movie is 21 years old.
Yeah.
I get it. At the same time, it's 21 years old. No one's gonna remember that. Like,
Yeah.
Well, people
who
do.
grew up-
People do.
People do, but I think the only people who really remember that Spawn movie are people like us who grew up in that era.
Exactly.
Or people who maybe
Exactly.
later discovered it, but like have not revisited
Exactly.
it.
I think movie buffs like us will definitely remember this movie because
Yeah.
this was our first glimpse of like, oh, what, they're doing this? Like,
Yeah.
besides Batman, this was like, oh, they're doing other people. This is great. This could be really cool. And I think it was just way too ahead of its time.
John Leguizamo though was
yeah, I
great
mean,
in
John
that movie.
Leguizamo was great.
Yeah.
Like, he was good in that
That's
movie.
the thing.
But
It
it's
has
just-
like great actors playing potentially great parts. It just wasn't written and directed well.
It wasn't, and
Yeah.
the CG wasn't there either.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
so
No.
it didn't have anything going for it besides the performers.
Yeah.
You know, and so right now I think
Yeah.
it's the perfect time. Let's get Jamie Foxx on this.
Mm-hmm.
He's got enough hype behind him. He's one of the, I wouldn't even call him like a big movie star, but he's a big draw. People love Jamie
Absolutely.
Foxx,
Yeah,
and so
yeah, yeah.
they
So
would
talented.
go and they're like, even people who maybe aren't into comics love Jamie Foxx so much. They're like,
Yeah.
maybe I'll give this one a shot. You know?
Yeah. No, I agree. And
I
plus,
think Smarcy says
Yeah.
a really good thing in the chat. This time
That's what I was
around,
gonna bring
it's
up,
a
yep.
Blumhouse production.
Yep.
It is in the best hands it can be, and this is the last chance for a good Spawn movie. Maybe not the last
100%.
chance, but yeah, man. I think that's
Last
true.
chance,
I think
I believe
Blumhouse
that's Smarcy.
didn't Blumhouse do Get Out?
Blumhouse did. So yeah, it's Jason Blum's company. All the
Damn.
movies that they've been making,
Yeah.
from Blumhouse, they're all $5 million budgets.
Yeah.
There are exceptions to that rule. Obviously, I
Yeah.
think Spawn will be one of them.
I
I
hope
think
so.
Halloween will probably be is very likely one of them as well.
Yeah.
But another movie that they did Truth or Dare, which I know a lot of people didn't like.
I
But
haven't seen it yet.
the movie that I really did enjoy that they did that was done in house was Happy Death Day.
Did you like that one?
I loved it.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
Really?
either.
It was so
looked,
fun.
It looked pretty
Man,
interesting. I
Cam-
remember when we
Cam
saw the
Emma
first-
and
Such
I-
a sleeper. I
Yeah.
didn't expect anything from those trailers.
Yeah,
You know?
Cam, Emma, and I went to go see when we were at TwitchCon.
Yeah.
And it was super hot down there, so we're like, let's just go to a movie. It's air conditioned.
Yeah.
What's playing? Happy Death Day. Yeah, why not? Let's go check out this horror movie. We had such a fun time.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's
Did you
so,
guys
so
see?
fun.
Speaking of
Interesting.
sleepers, have you guys seen Game Night yet?
No, but
No,
that's
is that
another
one
movie
good
that I
too?
heard
Dude,
it's really good.
I saw it in the theaters
Yeah?
with my dad, and now James Gunn and everybody else is tweeting about it because they're all
Yeah.
checking it out on
Yeah.
digital, and
Yeah.
it's really really good.
Yeah,
There-
I've heard
Rachel
one of them,
McAdams
yeah.
is
That's
great in it.
weird. Yeah.
I love her so much. Rachel
McAdams.
McAdams.
I love her. She's just
she's yeah,
You
she's
just
great.
can't
Watching her in
love
that,
her.
I was like, I'm glad she's part of the MCU, but she absolutely was wasted because she could have been such a prominent character.
yeah.
You
Are they
know,
gonna bring that character back? Are they gonna do anything with her?
here's the deal about Doctor Strange and that Doctor character. They don't end up together. I feel like Doctor Strange will eventually marry this character named Clea, who she is like the daughter of Dormammu or from the Dark Dimension.
Oh, that's right.
And she
Yeah,
has like
yeah,
the
yeah.
white hair. She has like a
Mhm.
purple and pink outfit, and she's more of like Doctor Strange's like true love in the way that like Mary Jane is
Gotcha.
Spider-Man's, that sort of thing. So I'm like, you could cast another great actress to play that role. I think it would be smart. I
No,
think it'd be
you
cool.
can make that Rachel McAdams.
I have
You
heard
can-
that theory.
Yeah.
I've heard that theory.
Chata.
Ay,
No mames,
pues,
güey, no
mames,
mames.
güey. No puede ser, no puede ser. No mames.
But yeah, I agree. I think Spawn is probably in some of the best hands that it can be in, especially when you have Todd McFarlane being so intimately involved as the writer director, and Jason Blum seems like a guy who, in his production company, they seem like a team of people who really want to be involved, but not in a mishandling sort of way. More of a Kevin Feige sort of way, where they really want to help the filmmakers make the best
dope.
movie possible, especially because they do everything on such on such low budgets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and what's one of the biggest lower budget movies we've seen so far in the comic book universe?
I mean, in the
It's
comic book universe,
Deadpool.
Yeah.
And then that did fucking gangbusters. Like
Yeah.
that was great. That was a
Recently, yeah.
groundbreaker.
Yeah.
You know, so I at this point, CGI is to the point where
Yeah.
you can use that $5 million and still come up
And
with something
I
amazing.
remember they said they were going to do less effects heavy stuff. This is going
Yeah.
to be more of a horror.
Wait.
for the
So
Spawn
what are
thing,
they going to do
for
about the
Spawn
cape
thing.
then?
I don't
Because
know.
that is all VFX.
I know, but there
I'm
are
sure
versions
they
of
do.
Spawn where the versions of Spawn where it's not super cape heavy. There
Oh,
are
okay.
versions of that. So
Okay.
they might still do that, but it might all be obscured and hidden and
like
you
very
know.
dark.
I
Okay.
think it'll be kind of a Hellboy approach where they really got to do as much in camera as they can and not spend a whole lot of time. in post.
I'm all in for practical effects
Yeah.
too. It's
Yeah.
just I can't imagine Spawn without the crazy
Sure, I
living
know.
cape.
It's such a part of
thing.
him.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
I'm excited.
Doctor Strange not having the cloak.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I'm excited for the movie to come out and for me to like have an opportunity to revisit that original movie.
Yeah.
And to go and get into Spawn comics again, because I barely read any when I was a kid when it was like the shit, and I haven't. That's the one comic I haven't really like dived into is like
Yeah.
this whole Spawn world,
Yeah.
you know, and like
Yeah,
I
I
want to go
haven't
find
really-
I want to go find like the best Spawn comics and where to start and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, I actually
Yeah.
that would be interesting because I know that when that movie came out, it was kind of over my head. I did watch it, but I only watched it maybe like once or twice as a kid.
We should get together and check it
We
out.
should.
guys.
We actually
Spawn?
should
Yeah.
get
I'm totally
together
down.
and
Maybe it
watch
could be
Spawn.
His 21st birthday.
Maybe it could be a patron thing.
Oh, that's not a bad
Patron.
idea.
Maybe a little watch along.
A
with
little
us,
watch along with
with
Spawn.
I like
with
that,
the
I like
Trinity
that.
and Spawn.
I like that. I'm into that. I'm into that.
Dang.
The other interesting
The
thing about
Trinity,
this,
huh?
other interesting thing about this movie, Todd McFarlane has said that it's not an origin story. That he's
Great.
kind of
That's
over,
smart.
he's kind of over and done with, kind of having to feel obligated to have to make an origin film.
Right.
So he kind of just wants to jump into it. And he talks about other movies like The Thing and other characters where the sort of the menace of the movie or the big or the kind
Yeah.
of the
The
scary
big bad.
monster of the
Mhm,
movie
mhm.
doesn't really need an explanation.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't
I
need
like
to have
that.
a big like speaking part and all that sort of stuff.
I really like that.
A little more
I-
mysterious.
It's just, don't get me wrong. I love origin stories,
Yeah.
but it's. I don't feel. I feel like we're sort of in a culture in which everybody feels like you have to hold your hand through like the whole through everybody's arc. You know, like I don't necessarily need the big bad's motivation behind what he's doing. Because if somebody's doing something bad, I'm like, I don't care you're doing something bad. Just stop the bad thing that you're doing.
You're garbage. Get out of
Yeah,
here.
exactly. You're garbage. Get out of here anyway. So I don't know. I hope it's something like that. I hope
Sure.
it's just like this guy's doing something bad at this point of his life. Let's get rid of him.
Well, it's kind of the same thing, and I know they're very different characters, very different universe. But for me, Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween, explaining the why of Michael Myers, I'm like, no, I don't need this.
Right.
I like the fact that he's just
exactly.
this powerful force who just keeps coming back and murders everybody.
And yeah, Spawn might be that kind of a force of nature.
Yeah.
And it would be cool, even if Spawn is the main character, it would be cool if the movie was explained to us by other characters, because I can imagine there will be cops in this movie investigating some kind of a case, as there always usually is in like Spawn stories, because he's a vigilante, and some cop's going to be like, what the hell is that? And some other guy's going to be like, I don't know, it's just this demon guy showed up 6 months ago or whatever, you know. There's a rumor that he's a dead cop or whatever, dead army guy, Spawn. You know, it doesn't matter. It's just like, it doesn't matter. And I'm sure we'll get that kind of explanation without having to see the origin. It's like, just let us know from other characters who this guy is, what's he fighting, what's the deal, done.
Just like to point out that Naeem is back there, and I did not know that there was somebody back there.
Is he showing up on camera too?
No, he's not. But I thought the dog was back there, and I kept we both kept turning around and freaking out.
I knew it was Naeem.
Thought it was a ghost.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
By the way, this house was creaking like crazy last night. Christopher, thank you so much. It was between that and Bert snoring that I was like, which I could hear through the wall. It didn't keep me up though, Bert. Just FYI.
That's great.
It kept me up, Bert.
Thank you so much, Christopher, for the $5 tip. Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Power Rangers.
Yeah.
A property that, if you look around the studio, is kind of near and dear to this place.
It isn't great. I wish you could flip the camera around to see that really cool metal Power Rangers logo.
Yep.
It's everywhere.
It's pretty rad.
We have had a Power Ranger on the show.
Yes,
Peter Sudarso was on the show.
Yeah.
They have the new season of Power Rangers here, which is Power Rangers Hyperforce.
Yeah. It ended
couple weeks
ago.
It's been
about 4 weeks now.
Yeah.
Don't ask me if it's coming back. We don't know.
Yeah, because as soon as that ended, they did the whole sell-off thing.
That's right.
Oh,
Hasbro acquired.
Yeah, Hasbro acquired.
Oh, that's right.
Saban.
Yeah.
That's odd.
It's a mystery. We
So
don't know.
okay, so what's the news then?
So the news is that Hasbro is definitely in the business of making more Power Rangers movies. Who would have thought?
Smart.
Who would have thought? Obviously, the movies are going to be a gigantic moneymaker and a potential moneymaker.
Put that picture back up.
Potential moneymaker. Potential money.
No, come on.
That one.
Don't you tease my balls.
Lucas,
a huge potential moneymaker for this franchise, obviously, and is going to continue to sort of keep Power Rangers relevant. One of the big things right now, though, that Saban, or Hasbro, I should say, has not commented on is whether or not they're going to reboot the franchise again, do a new series of movies, or if they're just going to continue on with the film that they made last year.
I think they should do part 2.
I think
if they wanted to reboot it and like redesign stuff,
Sure.
do it, but you better bring back Cranston as Zordon. You better bring back Bill Hader as Alpha 5. You better bring back that cast. I really like them. And then finally give us the Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger. It's like it's already all set up. It's like don't go to the trouble of rebooting it to try to do something closer to what the original, because I don't think that's what Hasbro wants to do or what they should do. I think that those Rangers could work really, really well in a sequel with that kind of support from Hasbro. And I feel like Hasbro, which owns Transformers, probably saw the Power Rangers movie and they're like, oh shit, this is better than most of the shit we make, and we make that shit. So why wouldn't we? They're probably like, why wouldn't we just do a part 2 to this? This is good. We're used to greenlighting shit, literal shit,
garbage, literal screen garbage.
We've been trying to figure out how to cram G.I. Joes into that shit. So let's just do Power Rangers too.
Because right now Hasbro has My Little Pony, G.I. Joe, Transformers. All of those have franchises or potential movies. Well, Transformers does indefinitely.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe, I think they're still trying to kind of reconfigure and figure out.
Yeah.
But they have those universes set up at Paramount Pictures, and I think the end goal, at least for G.I. Joe and Transformers, is to do some sort of a cinematic
shared universe.
I think that the next thing they should do. Here's my idea for Hasbro Cinematic Universe. The next movie should just be G.I. Joe. Maybe call it G.I. Joe Resolute, G.I. Joe something, so to differentiate it from the last ones, and make basically make like a Michael Bay movie. And not a big crazy superhero movie, but make like a pared down, like, oh, we're fighting, and
straight
you know
up
what?
Army.
Do what the comics did and not what the cartoons did, where the comics were like Cobra Commander is a homegrown terrorist. He is a white guy here in the United States who brainwashes an entire town called Springfield to like build like missiles and shit under the like parking lots and stuff. Like it started as a pyramid scheme. This is real G.I. Joe lore from comic books that were Marvel comics written by Larry Hama. So like, do this thing where the G.I. Joe movie is this force has to take on like neo-Nazis in America because that shit is relevant. And then, make it kind of grounded. Yeah. And then in part 2, do like or not in part 2, but in the next movie they should reboot Transformers and have it be that the Autobots actually come to Earth, like the Autobots and the Decepticons, and then they can have their each sequel crossover, where it's G.I. Joe meets Transformers.
So
Transformers, G.I. Joe.
so the Decepticons will be Nazi Decepticons.
Hell yeah! Like Cobra Commander gets word of Decepticons and he teams up with Megatron. That's perfect.
And Megatron just slaps a big old swastika on his arm.
No, he'll put like a Pepe the Frog. He'll be like,
"Oh yeah,
we're not Nazis, we're
Pepe
alt-right."
the Frog.
Put that shit on there. And then the G.I. Joes. And
What are the Power Rangers coming to play?
keep that separate because this is crazy.
They're in space.
Because this is like the PG-13 hard PG-13 franchise, and I think Power Rangers could be like a soft PG-13 PG hard PG franchise.
Maybe less
Keep
Nazis.
Yeah, for
in
sure.
Power Rangers.
For sure. Yeah. But man, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm kind of
Megatron and Lucas.
Megatron.
Make America Megatron again. Yes.
I'm sort of on.
Good robots on both sides.
I'm on your side, Hector. I don't necessarily want them rebooted, but I definitely think that with a second movie, you can sort of retool and refine.
Yes.
And take the things that I think really worked in the first movie, which I think is the cast.
If they didn't like the costumes, it's like, fine, update the costumes and have Zordon say some bullshit like, we've updated your suits,
Which doesn't
Ranger.
even really
Doesn't
matter. It doesn't matter at all. But yeah, if it's updating the suits, if it's updating the Megazord, even if it's sort of altering the tone and maybe embracing more of what the original show was, yes, that show is cheeseball, but it has this sort of like fun to it. And I think if they want to go in that direction and maybe tone it to go less... Whatever the
Less
comments,
seriousness?
the comments are gonna unleash fucking fury on me. Less DC, more Marvel.
Yeah.
Then I think there's an opportunity to be a little bit more true to what the Power Rangers TV show was, while still making it modern and fun and all that sort of stuff. Because at the end of the day, Power Rangers, yes, it's a property that's universally loved by people of a lot of different ages.
Right.
But
For kids.
it's for kids.
Yes.
It absolutely is for kids, but at its core, it's about a group of people.
Yes, it's about
who are
friendship and
friends,
family.
and they stick together and they always want to do the right thing, which is at its heart what Power Rangers should always be.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I for some reason can't get over the design of their suits.
Okay.
I'm not the
So I feel
biggest
like
fan of it.
They grew on me. I didn't like them at first, but I watched the movie once or twice, and I'm like,
I've seen some fan art that have done some dope ass suits.
Yeah, I know, and so it's not a make or break situation for me
Right.
with the suits. Like, look at those suits, whatever, it's fine.
See,
I'll
these
take them.
suits to me are very Iron Man, and I kind of want more Black Panther.
Exactly.
well,
So
maybe Black Panther could influence.
right.
Yeah.
No, not even Black Panther. Just look up Dan Mora on Instagram. Dan Mora does the art for the Boom Comics.
Yes.
So he is the Power Rangers artist right now.
Yeah.
Clean.
His art is so goddamn good, and I want all the Power Rangers to look like that. Like I think he did the concept and the art for Draken right now.
Okay.
So his art is just it's beyond amazing, and I feel like it's how the Power Rangers should look. But that's just nitpicky.
Sure.
I feel like they can go on with a sequel.
Ooh, I
I
agree.
enjoyed look at that stuff. Like look at that
Damn.
art. Look at the way he draws like the Megazords. And look at Draken right there in that picture. I wish you guys could see, but
Shit,
look up
dude.
Dan Mora on his Instagram or just even Google
You
him.
want to see something clean? Look at his Silver Surfer.
He does everything he does
Papa
is
like.
amazing.
Look at that.
Everything he does
Kind of
is
like Ryan
absolutely
Otley a
amazing.
little bit from Invincible. It's a little Ryan
a
Otley.
little tiny bit.
Oh, this is dope.
But
Cool.
yeah,
Follow.
so I feel like that's sort of the direction they should go, the art stuff. But that's just me. Like I'm very aesthetically kind of like centered, which leads me to the whole Thundercats kind of thing. But we won't get into that. But I fucking love the new style that they're going in. But that's something else. But I feel like moving on with a sequel to Power Rangers, the initial one.
Yeah.
My only nitpick is just the costumes and maybe just throwing more of that ripping ass guitar. Like
Sure.
melt my face
I
with
like-
some good
When the theme
gnarly
showed
guitar
up at the
song.
end of that movie,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, and then it
And
ends
then
after
it
20
ends-
seconds.
Could have
like,
been longer.
Why?
Could have been longer.
Why?
I think that I really like the score by Brian Tyler, but when he does try to incorporate the OG like guitar shred with the orchestral, it doesn't quite work.
Right,
I also like like a
exactly.
lot of the hip hop vibe, but I get that it could have had more of that like 80s rock, that
metal, just straight up metal, dude.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yes,
But still,
exactly.
you can still keep some of that hip hop style, which I
Yeah.
did like in the movie. And
I mean, honestly, if you really want to get a sense of like the tone, other than reading actual
I know what you're gonna say.
Power Rangers comic books or anything from Saban, watch Hyperforce.
Oh,
Hyperforce,
yeah,
they did a
Yeah.
really good job
Yeah.
crafting a story that
Yeah.
does really well of taking two tones of like very dramatic, but also being very fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And putting it together
absolutely.
into one
Yeah,
story that
yeah.
I thought was cool
Yeah.
because it still has
Yep.
very sci-fi elements
Yeah,
like time travel
yeah.
and all these sort of things,
But it's
still
Rangers.
very Power Rangers and very
Yeah,
fun.
I
Yeah.
thought you were gonna say Thor Ragnarok, and I was like,
I mean,
that's also
that's
It could be
also
very
that's
Thor.
also
It could be
that's
very
also
Thor.
another movie that I think
One
is a
thing
good
that I will
influence.
commend Hyperforce on is that they weren't afraid to go a little bit darker. Like
Yes.
Sure.
they had some
And you totally
deaths.
can have that.
yeah.
You totally
Yeah,
can
you
have
totally
that.
can have that. So yeah, I think it's something that they should continue going on because I don't think they've exhausted everything that this reboot can offer.
No,
especially with
it's
that giant tease with the Green Ranger.
Yeah,
Like,
and I get it that the movie didn't make, it underperformed. It made like I think I could be wrong. I think it made $175 million domestically. Could
It
have
didn't do
even
that
been
great.
worldwide.
Didn't
I
do
don't
on
know.
what budget? On 150 million to 115?
It probably was fairly
200?
decent budget. No, I don't know if it was that high, but
Yeah.
I would say it's at least 100 million. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not a good revenue.
yeah, it's
That's
not
not-
a huge revenue.
Yeah, not a good return on
machine.
investment. So I think what you do is you bring it down a little bit.
Mhm.
You go into the sequel going, okay, let's really figure out the story, the characters. Let's make sure that's the primary thing is the characters and the relationships.
Mhm.
What's a new villain that we can bring in? How
Lord
do we?
Zed. It's got to be Lord Zed.
Yeah, either that or you make the Green Ranger the villain. You sort of adapt what the
Oh,
original
yeah.
series did, where the Green Ranger
Yeah.
starts out as a villain and then he turns good. But I think you really need to sort of embrace what Power Rangers has always kind of been.
Mhm.
Not just making it cheesy, but
Mhm.
having sort of layers to it.
It's got heart to it. It's got a lot of heart to it.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah. It's got a lot of.
Was it Ryan Unicomb that said The Rock for Lord Zed?
Yo,
How good
That
is
would be
that?
sick though.
How good is that?
That would be
What?
cool.
Talk about that franchise Viagra. You know what I mean? Like it's like if you bring back the cast, you bring back Elizabeth Banks as Rita Repulsa.
Yeah.
You cast a great actor, maybe like a Zac Efron as the Green Ranger, something like that, where he seems like such a great counterpoint to the
Yeah.
Red Ranger. And then at the end of the movie, you tease Dwayne Johnson, and all of Part 3 will be Lord Zed, or hell, even he's like the main villain in it without showing up the whole way.
Whoa.
Lord Zed with just The Rock barely painted, 'cause it's
Just
all his
barely
muscles.
anything.
just lightly tan,
yeah.
Every time
lightly tan.
Something like goes his
Rita!
way.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
does. He does that. What's it called? The peck dance of love or something
Yes.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be great.
That'd be
And then
amazing.
Part 3 can be a new version of Ivan Ooze. You get Oscar Isaac to come back, reprise his role from X-Men
From
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse?
Yeah, Ivan Ooze,
That's
baby.
right. He
I'd be all
already did
about
Ivan
that.
Ooze.
I'd
It'd
be
be great.
all about that.
Redemption is spelled O-O-Z-E.
Oh, Z.
Ivan Ooze. Yeah.
That'd be great.
You get those kinds of actors to go, like, more people will come and see the sequel versus
sure.
what that turned out for the original, you know?
Yeah,
so,
yeah. And again, like I think that original movie. I don't think it's bad.
no,
at
I
all.
bought it on
No.
Blu-ray. I like that shit.
Yeah, I think it's a really. I
It's
think
flawed, but I like
it's
it.
flawed, but I think it has great moments in it, and I think there's a lot of potential there. So I think if they really just kind of make it more Power Rangers,
Tweak
and
it a
less, little,
Yeah. It was fun. I enjoyed it, and I'll watch basically anything that's going to come out up to this point, as long as it doesn't turn into Transformers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Keep it separate.
agree with you there.
Exactly.
separate.
I
Exactly.
agree with you there. Let's talk a little bit about the Star Wars universe. What's next? How are they going to recover from Solo, a Star Wars movie? Man, this movie
Big
is
old flopper.
hurting.
Big
It's hurting.
old flopper.
Yeah, and we'll talk about a little bit about that because a lot of people are saying,
It's
well, it's not
okay,
a
right?
flopper. Well, here's the thing. So this movie
Yeah.
currently sits at $115 million.
Okay.
Domestically.
Domestically.
It's entering, yes, I believe.
What's
domestically,
worldwide?
yes. Worldwide, $197 million.
Okay, not that much more.
Not that much more. This movie, talking about flopper, probably cost quite a bit of money.
Mm-hmm.
They shot 70 to 80% of one movie
Yeah.
And then reshot.
Yeah.
and then reshot a whole shitload
Of another movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it was an interesting conversation. I was listening to a couple of guys on the internet talk about this movie and talking about how, let's say this movie cost $200 million to produce the first version with Lord and Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go back and you reshoot. You're probably spending at least another 150 million to reshoot that movie.
Maybe.
Then on top of that, you've got marketing of some kind. That's
Yeah.
obviously going to cost you 100 to 125
And
million.
this is all like in the final, 5 minutes. This is all.
Yeah.
This is rush job.
Yes.
This is Last Jedi came
mean,
out
yeah.
in December,
Yes.
and 5-6 months later, movie's got to be ready
Yeah.
to go.
And not only that, we didn't really get the first trailer until the Super Bowl. We got that spot, and then we got the first teaser.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Then we got a second trailer. I think it was like I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago. Like, I would say maybe like 4 weeks ago.
Yep.
So this movie probably to break even has to make at least probably $500 million just to break even. And with the way it's going right now, obviously it had a good it didn't have a good opening weekend, but it had a 4-day weekend to open to. Did pretty low numbers. It opened at $84 million, which is the lowest opening since Attack of the Clones, which was all the way in 2002, and that was huge back then. That was big.
Yeah.
Those types of openings were huge.
Yeah, but Spider-Man beat it.
Spider-Man beat it. It did.
2002, baby.
Spider-Man beat it.
Marvel coming for your ass. Star Wars.
This movie so far has actually made less money than the 1997 re-release of Star Wars: A New Hope.
Really?
Yeah, it's
All right,
Oh
when you put
man,
it
that's
that
a
way,
big
Adam,
old flop
no
to me.
bueno. I mean, that's the entire theatrical run of the
Yikes.
97 re-release.
Sure.
Still.
But I don't know. I feel like this movie, I don't know if this movie will have legs.
No.
That's a concerning thing. Going into the second weekend, there's really nothing that it's competing with.
No.
But then next weekend, we've got a few movies coming out. We got Ocean's
Ocean's
8,
8,
Hereditary, and a few other things.
Ocean's 8's going to do very well.
Word on the street, Ocean's 8 is amazing.
I know.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah.
So-
and the
Can't
weekend
wait.
after that, we've got The Incredibles.
Yeah.
We've got The Incredibles, and at that point,
Yeah.
you're
Oh,
done.
come
You're
on.
done solo.
And
And
as
then
soon
a
as The
week after
Incredibles
that is
comes out-
Jurassic.
Exactly.
Oh
He's
yeah.
not going to have legs. Black Panther, I was tweeting about it today. Black Panther, in its 14th week, just moved out of the top 10 spot in the box office.
Yep.
After 14 weeks, it's at 13. It's still made.
Naeem pumping his
pumping
fist
his
in the air.
I think it's still made like
$87 billion.
Yeah, it's still made like some ridiculous amount, like $7-10 million. I don't know.
million. Yeah.
It's still playing in theaters.
Yeah.
After 14 weeks, it's still in theaters. The solo movie is not going to have legs, unfortunately. But I will say that I don't think this movie could have been as good as it was if it wasn't somebody like Ron Howard.
I see. So see,
Well,
that's not the. I don't
yes
think that's
and
the
no.
problem at this point.
Oh, I don't
Yeah.
think so either.
Yeah, I think.
But I think a lot of people like to point fingers.
Well, I'll say
Yeah.
this. I'll say this.
Yeah.
The way that allegedly, Lucasfilm kind of pulled the rug out from the two directors.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think after that move
Sure.
could Solo have been a better film if they got anybody
yeah.
other than Ron Howard and
Yeah.
he
Someone
did
of
the
his
job.
caliber,
He
yeah.
did the job.
Yeah.
But I think that we maybe could have gotten definitely a different Solo movie if this didn't happen,
Oh,
if that move didn't
absolutely.
happen.
100%.
So, what were you saying,
Absolutely.
Augustine?
That's part of the problem. It's just this is what I thought was going to happen to Ant-Man when we first
Yeah, I
started
remember.
hearing about all this Ant-Man stuff
The
and
director
and,
switch,
and
yeah.
Edgar Wright leaving and all this stuff
and
and
Reed coming in, yeah.
for the problems that they had in the pre-production, I feel like this movie turned out decent. I don't hate this movie.
I don't either.
This movie is just like lukewarm as fuck. Like as lukewarm as you can get, that's what it is. And I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. They had some cool stuff in it. It's just I read an article today saying that in China, this is where they expected it to make all of its money back.
Yeah.
It flopped in China. Like nobody went to go see the movie. I mean, it did make some money,
Sure.
but it wasn't the big gangbusters movie that they thought it was going to make.
Yeah.
And so this is where it gets kind of tricky on where you cast the blame.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
people are going to start casting blame on the actors, or people are
Yeah.
going to start casting blame on the advertising. And I think a lot of people tend to forget that, like, even though it's Star Wars, you can still make like a not so greatly accepted Star Wars movie.
Sure.
You know? And
yeah.
they like to turn a blind eye onto the prequels, which I think were terrible. But like you look at this movie and it's just like, yeah, even in this day and age, with somebody like Donald Glover, with Eckhart, is his last name?
Alden Ehrenreich?
Ehrenreich. Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. And like great lovable characters like Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Still, you gotta come with it. Like,
Yeah.
it's still Star Wars, dude. Like,
Yeah.
there's a certain level that it has to reach before we can accept it, because we've
Yeah.
had 30 years to dwell. No, even more than 30 years, and since the 70s to dwell on the Star Wars movies, which were just
Yeah.
3 movies.
40
almost 50 years.
40
Almost
years.
50 years to dwell
Yeah.
on those 3 stories, you know?
Yeah.
Like those movies are ingrained in the fabric, not just of people, but of like society.
Yeah.
You know, I knew Luke, I am your father before I even saw the movies. Like I knew what that was.
No.
And
I am your father.
I didn't even, yeah.
I think you're right,
So-
Augustine. I also think it's just like it's kind of the perfect storm. It's like a bunch of
Yeah.
different things. It's not one thing. Why
Yeah,
did Solo do
absolutely.
bad? It's not one thing.
It's not one thing, no.
It's not Kathleen Kennedy.
No.
It's not Lawrence Kasdan. It's
Yeah.
not Lord and Miller. It's not Ron Howard. It's not Alden Ehrenreich. it's not. I don't even think it's a decision of like the studio, Lucasfilm, or the story group to even greenlight Solo. I don't think that was even a mistake. I think that there could have been an awesome thing
could have
here
been,
that contributed to the overall saga. I think it's a bunch of different things. People pointing out it's like NBA Finals killed it. A crowded May killed it.
No way.
So here's sort of my take on it.
People are like, put it in November or December, would have done better.
Sure.
It's like,
dog.
I think so. Based on what little I've read about the Lord and Miller version of this movie, Lord and Miller were definitely trying to make a different type. I think we talked about it last week too. A movie about it more of a maverick, Han Solo being a maverick and doing things that are different and sort of not something that we would expect. Not trying to be a little. I mean, the Han Solo movie to me is a little bit predictable, and I think that's what Lord and Miller were trying to go against, and that's where the problem sort of came up with Kathleen Kennedy and Lawrence Kasdan. So I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever know. We'll probably will at some point. Eventually, we'll know. Everything comes out.
Yeah.
But I think it's a combination of things. I think it's Lawrence Kasdan and his son. Honestly, probably not writing a solid enough story. Or not being at the point where the story was solid enough to justify greenlighting this movie.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and I think also part of it is because Josh Trank was going to make a Star Wars spin-off film that I think likely was going to come out before this, that this second anthology movie I think was originally going to be the Josh Trank film. Because that sort of got knocked off to the side.
This got pushed up.
And I think, honestly, this movie needed more time to sort of develop and linger with the story group and with Lawrence Kasdan, Kathleen Kennedy to sort of figure out like, okay, if we're already going to do his Han Solo prequel story, we're going to tell you how he met Chewie, how he got the Falcon, how do we make it fun and intriguing and also add something to the character. And I do think the movie is fun. I think a lot of the action sequences are great. I think some of the characters are charming. But to me, it just doesn't have the depth that I would have liked for it to have.
Exactly. I think that's my problem too, because I was thinking about it walking home from work the other day, and I was like, it's weird that they would put every single important thing that we know about Han Solo in one movie.
Yeah.
He gets his blaster. He meets Chewie. He gets the Millennium Falcon. He meets Lando.
He gets his name.
He gets his name. He gets Lando to hate him. Like, everything happens in this one arc, which I'm like, you know what? Like, I couldn't pack that much into a week if I wanted to. Like into just several days. Like, this is, I think it does a huge disservice to the legacy of Han Solo.
3 years. He did a thing, and then it goes 3 years later,
jumps 3 years,
which was a crazy thing to see in a Star Wars movie. It was like, I've never seen that.
3 years, and then everything happens again.
Right.
Like, everything happens in this one
like
arc.
a week.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, to me, it kind of takes away from the legacy of Han Solo, because I feel like a guy like him would be having adventures, and then he would run the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs or whatever.
Yeah.
Or he would be on this crazy cool, like trying to steal some treasure and then find this like legendary blaster, you know? Or like he's on Chewbacca's planet and he happens to run into like this whole like civilization of people like Chewbacca's and so it's just I feel like it kind of just try to cram everything in there. When he got his blaster, when he met you, I was just like, okay.
You know what it makes him seem like? It makes old-ass Harrison Ford seem like a guy who peaked in high school and is still talking about it.
Exactly.
It's like, homie, you did everything in 1 week.
You remember that 1 week? That was dope.
You did it in
That
14
was dope,
parsecs.
dog.
12. Like,
Yeah.
calm down.
Yeah.
Dude. You did
That was dope, dog.
like 50 years ago.
I think the thing that also hurt the movie, and I think there is some truth to it, I think May was just too crowded of a month. You had Avengers Infinity War originally coming out the first weekend of May.
Deadpool.
Then you had Deadpool. Then you had Solo. I
Yeah.
think Avengers played it right by moving the movie 1 week up to April 27th. I think Deadpool had really no reason to move because honestly, I think Deadpool probably thought like, well, we're 2 weeks out from Avengers and then Solo. Like, I think we'll be okay because I think it's a very different audiences. So I don't think they were necessarily worried that nobody was going to see their movie because of Solo. I honestly just think that they thought they're such different audiences that we'll be fine.
Yeah.
But I think honestly, like people love Infinity War. A lot of people love Deadpool too. So instead of going to the theater to see Solo, they went and they saw those two movies, or they went to go see Black Panther. Black Panther ticket sales went up after Infinity War came out. So
that's amazing,
momentum, baby.
I think that
cool.
if this movie if they would have delayed the release of this movie to November, December, how it has been, I think that genuinely people would have been a little bit more open to the idea. I also don't think it helps that The Last Jedi was such a divisive movie. An extremely divisive movie.
Yeah. That one was a huge divide.
I mean, if you talk to a lot, if you see a lot, like I put out a tweet asking people, what order would you watch the Star Wars movies in when you're showing somebody new? And there were so many comments of like, skip Last Jedi, skip Last Jedi, skip Last Jedi, skip the prequel. Skip. I'm like, guys, it's a part of the saga, whether you like it or not. Like, you gotta.
It happens.
You have to present the entire Star Wars saga to the person, then let them decide what they do or don't want to rewatch.
Yeah, that's awful. I don't know, man. And again, we're just used to film Twitter. We're used to film internet. We're used to LA. We're used to people dissecting the shit out of movies. Yeah. I know one person in the real world who didn't like The Last Jedi, like a relative of a friend, and other than that. I showed the movie to my mom, my sister. They really liked it. You know what I mean? Like, and the movie made a lot of money. Sure. And I think that the movie made the type of money that, based off of the hype that was The Force Awakens coming back after 30 years, this internet that wants that shit to fail because they dislike the movie, we're looking like, oh, see, it made less money because it's not as good and it is very divisive and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I don't think that's necessarily online. It seems like it is because. People were I've seen videos where like, well, if it isn't divisive, how come there are the score rating on Rotten Tomatoes is like 60%, where like the critic score is like 80 or 90 or whatever it was, and then they're saying if this was just like a small group of fans, why aren't they doing the same thing to Avengers: Infinity War or Deadpool 2 or whatever? And I feel that maybe I'm wrong. I feel that Star Wars is the most talked about thing on the internet.
It is.
Talked about movie on the internet. Star Wars is the most. People will actively do a thing revolving Star Wars as a movie franchise on the internet more than any other franchise. So even if there are people that are trying to, boycott Black Panther because SJW bullshit and they're big man babies, it's gonna be a little blip. But I think that Star Wars online can just mobilize armies of dudes to just target a thing, and it's so easy to get kind of wrapped up in that wave of like. This sucks, or this was the best, and here's why, and blah, blah, blah. And again, we saw Infinity War come out a few months after Black Panther, and it didn't people weren't burnt out on Marvel because Black Panther was great. I think that Solo, there's a bunch of different factors, and I'm just less. I feel less like it's because people really, were thrown by The Last Jedi that would affect Solo. I think that marketing of Solo didn't even feel like it was like
a Star Wars movie
related to Last Jedi even. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I feel like there's like a disconnect. I don't know if people are not even aware that like Tom Holland is a new Spider-Man because he's been rebooted and it's not Andrew Garfield and they're still going to go see these superhero movies. Like I feel like general audiences aren't going to know. Yeah, they're not going to be as savvy with like, wait, where in the saga timeline does Solo take place? Like they're going to know generally like, oh, this is when he's young, and Last Jedi was the last one I saw, and it was like this is dead.
I was once again the thing that got me thinking about Han Solo and like why they would do the things all in one week is because when I was walking home, there was these two girls behind me. And they were talking about Solo, and they were like, "Oh, I loved it! Like it was so good."
Yeah.
And they really They really connected to the droid, the female droid.
L3.
Yeah. I see. I don't even know her name. I completely forgot I saw the movie. So then they were like,
"Look,
oh,
you know who you're talking to."
Yeah, I know. So she was. They were like, "Yeah, that was the best part." Blah blah blah. And it made me smile because I'm like, "Well, I'm glad they enjoyed it.
Totally.
Like, I'm glad there's people who
Cameron really liked the movie." I thought Cameron wasn't gonna like it at all.
I thought Cameron was gonna hate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm really glad that people were out there and are able to connect with this type of movie. Like it obviously wasn't. It didn't fit my sensibilities of what I thought would happen in the Han Solo movie. But I'm glad that there are people who can find the goodness in what this movie presented, and that they can see this Han Solo movie and be like, cool, that's what I believe Han Solo would have done in that 1 week of his life.
I think the big thing for me, I think Star Wars, I think it's a huge death trap having movies come out 6 months apart. I'm honestly like, when they announced it, that we were going to get a saga movie, an anthology movie, I was all about it. Because I thought, cool, we're going to get a Star Wars movie every year. This is going to be so fucking cool. Yeah. There's going to be different movies and all this sort of stuff. it sounded great when we got to Force Awakens because I knew, I only have to wait a year for a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
We got to Rogue One. I was like, this is awesome. I only have to wait a year to get to Episode 8.
Yeah.
We got to Episode 8, and I'm like, man, I feel like there's nothing else that people talk about than Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I know people do with Marvel too, but again, Star Wars and Marvel are not the same.
Yep.
They're two completely different universes. One is based on a comic book universe that has completely different characters in completely different worlds, different tones, different types of movies. Star Wars generally, it's very similar. They have very similar types of technology, similar types of ships, similar types of characters. But that's because Disney has given us that for the last 4 years or 3 years. They've given us sort of the same thing over and over again. If you were to split these movies up and do Episode 7 and then go 1,000 years in the past and do something in the Old Republic, and then you went in the future, or I think the content is not diverse enough for me to want a Star Wars movie every year. I am really glad that we have 18 months, pretty much a year and a half, between this movie, Solo, and Episode 9.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have there's going to be at least 6 months of silence about Star Wars, 7 months. And then
can't
the
wait.
marketing will ramp back up for Star Wars Episode 9 around March, April when we get to Celebration.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of all about it.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
kind of don't want to talk about Star Wars for the next few months. Same thing with Avengers Infinity War.
That's big coming from
That
you,
is
Adam.
big. And,
Yeah.
like, that's the thing I love about Infinity War.
Yeah.
They're not going to start really talking about
Yeah.
Marvel's next phase or anything until after that movie. And I'm kind of for it.
Yeah.
I am kind of sick and tired of every single franchise or every single
Thanks, Super Baldy.
company or whatever feeling like they need to all be like Marvel. Universal did the same thing with the Monster franchise. It blew up in their face. DC did the same thing. It hasn't worked out for them perfectly. And it sucks because we do the show and every single week we want to have something to talk about, and a lot of times there's nothing to talk about. But I kind of do really wish that these studios would just focus one movie at a time.
Yes, Star Wars is
I
not
agree.
Marvel.
It's not.
And that's a good and a bad thing. Like it's
I
its own
think
thing.
it's totally fine.
It's
I think
when
it's
people were
great.
saying Star Wars is event films, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And Marvel, give me one of those every other month because they know how to keep that shit going. And it's not like,
it's like a comic book series, right?
correct,
Every month
correct,
you get
correct.
a new issue of a comic book.
Right.
Yes.
Star Wars is not that. I loved that from 99 to 02, I had to wait patiently 3 years for Episode 2.
Yeah.
I had to wait patiently 3 years for Revenge
it's not
of the
like
Sith.
there isn't a million cartoons and a million
comic
you know,
books.
comic
like,
books.
There's so
I'm-
much other Star Wars content. You can
I
see.
want a
things.
break so I can catch up. I'm trying to catch up right now.
Yeah.
I'm reading
For real.
Star Wars
now you got to
comics.
catch up on Spawn?
Yeah,
Now
exactly.
we got to read up on
Yeah.
Spawn.
Now-
we got to be experts on
No,
Spawn
the
now.
next thing I'm trying to catch up on is Cloak and Dagger because that show's
That's
coming out.
right,
So
that's
some
coming out
Cloak
too.
and Dagger comics. Yeah, that's
Right.
coming out in
But
June.
yeah, you've got all these Star Wars books, Star Wars
Yeah.
comic books. You've got Jon Favreau doing a new series that takes place after Return of the Jedi. You've got
Yeah.
Star Wars Resistance, which is a pre-Force Awakens anime-inspired series. So there's plenty of other stuff to consume. I just don't want to get to a point like I never want to utter the words "I'm sick of Star Wars," and I'm kind of getting to that point.
I don't think you are. I think we're just kind of in
You're
a
sick of
lull
fandom,
right
brother.
now. Yeah, I
think
think
that's
the
what it is.
Yeah,
fandom's
me
kind
too.
of getting to
Me
you.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks.
And I think it's those toxic conversations on Twitter that are getting
Yep.
to you.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like yes, taking a break is good because I'm really backed up on watching Gumball right now. So I
Excellent.
really
good?
love that show.
Cool.
I fucking love that
Is there
show
any good
so much.
investigation animations in there you want to pitch to me?
We'll talk about it.
Okay,
We'll
good.
talk about it. There's
I'll
some
do
really
a
good shit.
Gumball episode. Huh?
But-
I know.
yeah,
I've
this show is
I've seen
amazing.
clips that have blown my mind.
They're absolutely
They have
amazing.
been like, holy fuck, this is amazing.
There was one episode where Gumball caught a banana masturbating that I just blew my mind because like he was running through the house, like running through something, and he opened the door and there's this banana and he's staring at the computer screen and there's this banana unpeeling itself and the banana goes, I laughed so fucking hard.
That is hilarious.
It's so good.
That is
The
hilarious.
show is just it's amazing, and I feel like I want to catch up on shows like that too.
Yeah.
Like there's the new, I mean, it's not coming out till next year, but there's the new Thundercat show that's gonna come
Yeah.
out. Like,
Oh,
there's
you
a
know
lot
what
of
I'm
good
going to
shit
do
coming
before
out.
that comes out? I want to go back and watch 80s Thundercats, and I want to see the 2011
No,
one. You know what I mean?
you don't want to watch 156 episodes
no,
of
just,
the old
just one season,
Thundercats.
which is still like 65
one
episodes.
season is, I think it's
Yeah.
like
That's
100 and
half of
some
it,
odd
yeah.
episodes, dude.
So great.
No, it's not. That was the entire run.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so the old one, let me tell you, I tried watching it and it doesn't age well. Like it's not something that you can watch all the way through. But yeah, like I agree with you, Adam. I feel like sort of like our situation in the fandom of it, like getting such feedback from people who loved it, but also such strong vocalization for people who don't.
Yeah.
And people who are willing to fight you like tooth and nail to prove their point. That really gets tiresome.
It does.
And that's just kind of the situation that we're in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think it's something that you will get burnt out on, because I know you, and I mean, the first time I realized how diehard you were is when you hit us with the Salacious Crumb out of nowhere, like factoid, or I forgot where that was from, but I was like, fuck, man, this guy knows Star Wars like a mother.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. And again, that's why I'm kind of glad we have a year and a half before we get to episode 9. I think that's going to be a really good opportunity for not just fans, but I think also for the Lucasfilm as a company to really gauge sort of the playing field and where are we at right now. How do people feel about Star Wars?
Yeah.
Are people going to go on Twitter and be like, man, it's been a year and a half. I'm ready for Star Wars. I'm ready to see what they do. I'm ready to see. And again, it's like also it presents kind of an uphill battle for J.J. Abrams again.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
You know, for the people who are not pleased with The Last Jedi and or with the ideas and the things that Rian Johnson wrote and did that he was not expecting to see happen, how does he kind of work around that? Does he retcon anything? Does he sit down and figure out, okay, this is not the direction that I thought this was going to go in. I guess I got to figure it out. Or do you time jump it and sort of start afresh?
Or do something. I feel like,
I don't know.
I feel like he's going to ignore what people have been saying. I feel like,
you have to a certain extent.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what Rian Johnson did. Yeah. He was like, guess what, guys? I know what I'm doing. Yeah. I know I'm going to piss a shit ton of people off. Yeah. But I'm going to do it because this is for the betterment of the franchise in the future. Like, it's not about you and your fandom and what you expected to happen. It's about keeping this going so that you have Star Wars 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line. So that I think that's, and I think J.J. Abrams is going to see that, and he's gonna,
I hope so,
balance it a little bit with a little bit of what we want, but also continue the story so that we have something to look forward to.
Ryan's movie is so confident. The Last Jedi is such a confident writer-director coming in. He's like, I know exactly what the scene is going to be.
He's like, I'm so confident. I show him milking an alien titty and drinking that milk.
And going,
like,
that's the director going, oh my God, I know what I'm doing.
In your face.
I know what I'm doing. Yeah, it's
so
confident.
That's 100%
Whereas Solo's
confident.
like Ron Howard, like, they brought me in to do this movie.
Yeah,
here
I'm going to finish it up.
I did
Here you go.
Yeah.
Do you think that so Star Wars has not confirmed this, or Lucasfilm has not confirmed this? We know premature reports that there's a Boba Fett movie coming, obviously. We also know that the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie is kind of in the works. It's in talks. Right. Nothing really confirmed yet.
Maybe a Lando movie in talks, kind of. Nothing confirmed yet.
Not after this flop.
I think after this flop, that's the only option. I think you do not do another movie called Solo.
No,
but you
Lando.
do a movie called Lando.
I have a very unpopular opinion about this, and I'm not going to share it.
Oh, what is it?
Say it, baby. Say it.
You didn't like Donald Glover as Lando?
It's not that I didn't like Donald Glover as Lando.
Ooh, Adam, you didn't like Donald Glover as Lando?
I don't think
that's racist, dog.
I know.
Just kidding.
That's what the internet will say. I don't think that Lando Calrissian was written well enough for me to care about him.
I agree.
And I don't think he was given enough to do that made me, when the movie ended, I didn't go, God damn it, I really want a Lando Calrissian movie.
Exactly.
I didn't do it for
I did over Han Solo. I did not go, God damn it, I want another Han Solo movie. I was like, he did great. I loved seeing him and Chewie. I really liked L3. And I said, if they're going to do another one of these set in this era with these actors, give it to Ryan Coogler to do, you know what I'm saying? But you're not wrong. But I still had the thought of like,
you saw the potential there.
In a different writer's hands, Lando could be, I think, better than Solo a Star Wars story. That's all I'm saying.
He could potentially. But in this movie, I agree with you 100%, Adam. When I was finished watching this movie, I was like, I don't ever need to see Han Solo or Lando or anybody in this movie ever again.
It's kind of a one and done.
Yeah, it's just one and done.
Okay, cool. Just go to the Bespin now.
With the thing that they sort of teased up at the end with like maybe continuing that story, I was like, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a bummer because like that should be dope. But I was like, nah,
right.
I'm fine.
And I feel that way because
has everybody here seen Han Solo? Can we talk about spoilers?
I think there's like one guy in the chat who hasn't
Can we talk about spoilers? Is it fair? It's been a week already.
Blink spoilers. Lucas, do we have a spoiler graphic? I don't think we have a spoiler graphic.
Okay. completely forewarning you, spoilers.
Earmuffs.
You have 5 seconds to mute. I'm not against a Darth Maul movie.
Right.
I'm not against exploring what that character was doing in between movies.
Nice.
Oh, damn.
Nice.
Already got it set up.
I will say, because of what they do with the character in Star Wars, Clone Wars, and Star Wars Rebels, I just don't know how much you can do.
Right.
That's
Without
what-
feeling like you're forcing
Right.
a piece of Darth Maul's story into the mythology.
That's what I want to hit on. Go
Right.
watch Star Wars Clone Wars. There's an amazing fight scene with Obi-Wan and Darth Maul, and they're in this like little cave, and it's some of the best lightsaber fights I've seen since the original trilogy.
Yeah.
And it's not only because it's like, yes, it's an emotionally charged fight, but at the same time, the animation and the storyline that builds up to it is so incredible that it really pays off when Obi-Wan and Darth Maul fight.
Yeah.
And so I feel like after seeing that, when I saw Darth Maul show up at the end of the movie, I was like, do you understand what you just threw at us? Like, there's a huge history here. This movie didn't do that great. Like, I was already suspecting that it was going to flop after I finished watching the movie. And I was like, you threw us something that could have been served so much better in an Obi-Wan movie that, like, we don't need it here. I felt like it was a huge stretch for people who are big fans of Darth Maul, because you're a big fan of Darth Maul. I'm a big fan of Darth Maul.
Maul's fucking.
So
the fact that they didn't use him in the entire prequel trilogy was a little disappointing.
Dude, absolutely, because people loved him immediately.
But the cartoons made up for that.
I feel like there was such a missed opportunity, and it's such.
But could it be a
cash grab.
tease that they'll continue in an Obi-Wan movie?
That's
if
what I'm hoping.
If they're making an
I don't-
Obi-Wan
That's
movie.
my hope.
I don't.
Ewan McGregor
So,
meets
again,
Maul
more
again
spoilers.
face to face.
Darth Maul and Obi-Wan Kenobi meet in Star Wars Rebels. Bert, close your ears. They meet in Star Wars Rebels, and Darth Maul meets his end.
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
story concludes. Darth Maul
So,
is done.
do you think they would recreate that in live action? That scene?
I mean, if they do, I wouldn't be against that. But again, it's
Yeah.
like, how does that tie into the Darth Maul?
might as well do a Rebels live action movie at
Right,
this
it's
point.
like, how does
might
it
as
tie
well
into
get
the
Freddie
Darth
Prinze
Maul
Jr. to
movie?
play Kanan. Like,
Right.
what are you doing?
Exactly. So that
Yeah.
I think
It's tough.
there is potential, because there are sort of like gaps in the timeline where you can sort of integrate Darth Maul.
Yeah.
And I love the character so much, and I think Ray Park was done such a disservice by being killed off in one movie.
Absolutely, I agree.
And I think
I
you can
agree.
make him look cool and all that sort of stuff.
The difference is, I think, for me, between this and Marvel is that Marvel stories are like ongoing. So when they brought back the Red Skull, we were like, oh fuck, like what does this mean for future movies?
Exactly.
It's
Plus,
not
they started at the beginning.
It's
Right.
yes,
what I mean?
and it's not that the Star Wars movies continue to do prequels that are like, we already know where the world goes after this point. So they've kind of forced themselves into this tricky corner where, like, we want to do fan service stuff, we want to do connective tissue, we want to do this shared universe, we want to acknowledge in ways that Marvel movies don't even do this with their TV shows, our TV shows, and yet the payoff in this is in Star Wars Rebels, whatever, season 4 or 3 or whatever. So it's just like, so are we going to tell you, come watch this live action Obi-Wan movie, but at the end, are we going to tell people, like, go see Rebels from like
you're
6
not.
years ago?
You're not.
Right.
That's kind
No,
of tricky,
it's
but
hard.
Marvel is like like, you know,
Right.
there's-
It moves
there-
forward.
They don't do too many, and if they have prequel things, it's like little scenelets.
Yeah.
And Ant-Man with young CG Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
It's not like a whole movie that's like, and now we're going to do the movie in 1986 when it was Ant-Man and the Wasp, and it's like, well, don't do that, because the end of the Wasp, she ends up in the microverse, and you know, they're not doing that as a whole movie the way that the Solo and Rogue One, but I thought Rogue One was a perfect one and done.
Absolutely.
Perfect, like
Absolutely.
one and done. Literally, the characters are done, like one and done. so
Spoiler
there's not this thing of like, well, wait, you know, we know that Cassian Andor ends up in Rebels this and this and that. Like it's done. So it's a tricky thing that they kind of put themselves in this corner.
They really did, and I think it was just 100% done for fan service, and I don't agree with that, but I don't know, man.
It could. I mean,
It's
part
tough,
of it's cool, but
and there are things that happen in both animated series. You know, Darth Maul doesn't necessarily know that Obi-Wan is alive, and then he finds out. So there are elements to play with, but again, I just worry that this story's going to get shoehorned sort of in between these timelines. And yes, I think there very much is a gap to play with. I don't know. I guess I'm just not fully confident about it yet.
Nope.
But if they were to announce it and they got, you know, some cool writing team and a cool director, I'm all for it.
Absolutely.
I am that one person who is kind of on board with an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie as long as they figure out what the story is. Because I think if you have 18 years of Obi-Wan Kenobi on Tatooine looking over and protecting Luke, how do you make that intriguing? What's special about that?
He can
what is it?
He can get found out by Boba Fett.
Maybe
They
Boba
have
Fett's the other movie that I'm like, okay, if you do Boba Fett, but you make it a Western,
Like
which if you have
Boba
like
Fett versus Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not gonna
maybe
work.
I don't know.
I'm just
Boba
throwing
Fett
ideas
versus
out.
Just spitballing.
Han, because Han
Yeah?
says in Empire,
Sure.
Boba Fett.
Boba Fett where?
Return of the Jedi. Boba Fett. Yeah.
If the Boba Fett movie is a back end sequel to Han Solo, I wouldn't hate that.
yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate
and,
that
and
either.
Alden Ehrenreich showed up in that. That'd be dope.
Yeah.
And at the end, they go to meet Jabba.
Can we give the
Yeah.
all clear for spoilers
we're
at this
good.
point? We're good. So come back if you haven't seen.
Somebody did ask the
yeah.
question of where would you go with Star Wars? I've said this 100,000 times. Get out of the 64, 65-year gap that
You'd go
takes
Back to the
that's
Future.
saga.
Yeah.
That's the Star Wars Skywalker saga. Get out of it.
Yeah.
I understand that there's 34 years in between A New Hope, or 32 years, 30 years between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there are things that you can explore. If you do it, don't explore Luke. I don't
Yeah.
necessarily want those stories. Maybe tell us how the First Order came to be, because I think that's something that's very underestablished in Episode 7. I think they just wanted you to sort of like assume that you knew what it was, because it's like the Empire and it's like the Rebel Alliance. But I think maybe giving us a little bit more context that sort of fills out, who some of these characters are would be great. Other than that, there's such interesting shit in the past with Darth Plagueis and other characters like that. Ancient Sith, Ancient Jedi. There's so much stuff. There's a really good movie, really good video on Star Wars Explained that was updated this month, May the 4th. They do it every single year. That updates the Star Wars timeline.
Yeah.
They talk about the history of the Star Wars universe pre-Episode 1. There's some fascinating shit
Absolutely.
in there. The Mandalorian Wars, there's so much cool stuff that you can do. Do it.
The only one character I would want to come back for, but she's already had a really good story arc, is Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
mean, even now though, she's already had an incredible story arc. She's been one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars universe. So would it be doing her like an injustice if you were to go back and visit her story?
We know
in
that
live
character.
action?
We know that character survives through the galactic war with
Right,
the Empire. She makes it through Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
She goes off with Sabine.
Yeah.
For training. There are things that you can do, but yeah, I mean, if they took those characters, and I think the advantage of taking those characters is, yes, they are characters that we've previously explored, but let's admit the animated series, both Clone Wars and Rebels, it's consumed by a much smaller audience than the movies.
Absolutely.
If you
I
can
agree.
still create a movie that establishes sort of like where these characters are in their current timeline and then tell us an intriguing story about it, maybe they go on a quest to find Ezra. Maybe he survives. Who
Damn,
knows?
son, that'd be dope.
You never
That
know.
would
You
be
never
dope.
know. And then you can sort of get the backstory from the movie and without having to necessarily have to watch Star Wars Rebels in its entirety. So
Michael
who
Pena,
knows?
Ezra. Grown up Ezra.
Dog, that'd be dope.
Michael Pena.
Hmm.
What's the name of the video? I think it's called Star Wars Explained. Star Wars timeline, like
Canon
updated.
timeline?
Yeah, if you just go on they made it in the last 3 weeks.
You can find it. Give it a Google. It's worth a Google.
Give it a goog. Give it a goog.
Google it up. Google it
Also,
up.
before we go, unless you guys have any final thoughts on this.
No, man. I think we
No,
said everything.
I think
I'm
we've
exhausted.
I think we beat it to
this
death.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Claire's birthday. Claire 58's birthday
That's
on Saturday.
What?
right.
On Saturday?
Claire.
Saturday.
This episode
Wow.
is dedicated to you.
No pooch, but we're here.
No pooch. Claire is the one who gave us the wonderful question: what superhero would you want in a musical?
Wow.
And
started
It's
there.
all thanks
that's
to
all
her.
thanks to Claire.
So make sure you guys
So,
jump on her socials at Claire.
I remember one time we were. This is a crazy story. She's gonna be so mad.
Oh,
we were all in Las Vegas, and Claire was missing.
Uh-huh.
And we woke up, and you were missing your tooth. And there was
yeah.
a baby there.
And there was a
there was a
tiger in
tiger in the
the
fucking
Tiger
bathtub,
in the
bro.
bathtub, and we had the craziest day recounting our steps.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, Claire was up on the roof.
Yeah.
We got
The
her.
whole time.
We got her to the
Found
wedding.
her.
Yep.
She was cool.
She's married.
Yep. It all
We're
worked
great.
out.
That was a
Yeah.
fun.
That was a
great
good.
weekend.
That was a
Yeah,
good
it was a
trip.
good weekend.
Great
That was a
weekend.
good bonding.
time.
That was a good bros
To
trip.
Claire.
To
To Claire 58.
Do you guys have any Claire stories?
I remember this one time Claire killed her uncle off the side of this cliff.
Yeah, she did.
Into a running pack of wildebeest.
Yeah.
She just
Yeah.
let him fly, and I thought that was pretty messed up.
That's messed up.
Yeah,
That's messed
That's
up.
pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
She
I know.
really,
Wow.
she like
she
threw him.
Yeah, she was pretty mean about it.
chucked him
man.
off.
Just chucked him off a
Really?
cliff.
And her
Yeah.
nephew saw the whole thing. Dude.
Yeah, he was pretty messed up about it.
Yeah.
He came back and killed her.
I
Yeah,
know.
isn't
It
that
was
crazy?
nuts.
Yeah.
It's fucking
It was
nuts.
nuts, dude.
Yeah.
Cheech Marin was there. Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah,
It was
great crew.
crazy.
It was
Great crew.
Yeah,
Really
man.
cool.
But definitely
Nathan
jump
Lane.
over on Twitter and wish her happy birthday.
Wait, do you have a great Claire story, Adam?
do I have a great Claire story?
But like for real.
For real?
We obviously we were joking, but you've got a real one. I know.
I'm sure you do.
Do I? Do I really have one? I mean, I will feel very fulfilled once Doom the musical actually becomes a reality.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
Yeah.
that will be the greatest story ever told
That
on the
actually,
show.
yeah, that
Yeah.
would be.
When that comes to fruition and we can say like, oh, somebody who watched our show suggested this and we made it a real thing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that'd
And
be great.
Lin-Manuel Miranda was in it.
Mm-hmm.
So
And it was amazing.
another cool thing is that this weekend. So do you guys know about the hip hop artist MF Doom?
Mm-hmm.
You guys know about MF Doom?
Yeah.
So
Little bit.
MF Doom takes his persona
The
from
badass
Doctor Doom, the
motherfucker.
character. Yes. He officiated a wedding. I don't know when it was. His picture showed up on Twitter. So it's gonna be my life's goal to get him to it be involved in Doom the musical
Doom the
in
musical,
some way.
yeah.
Like maybe just like
That'd be great.
give us some rhymes, like give us
Yeah.
something, like
Yeah.
maybe have a little cameo in one show and then done.
That'd
Why
be
not?
awesome.
So you know,
Adam, tell the story that one time Claire was babysitting, and this
Oh,
dude
Killed My Brother?
kept. Yeah.
and then
That's
you guys had to like walk around with your brother's corpse.
Yeah,
And pretend he was alive.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did like Weekend at Bernie's style.
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
was horrible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, the cops almost
Yeah.
killed us for it, and then we got
Yeah.
into it with some drug lords.
Yeah.
And I had to stick 5 pounds of cocaine up my butthole. It was not pleasant.
That
Thanks,
was-
Claire.
That was a
Great
good-
weekend,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Great
It was
weekend.
great. Yeah, it
Great
was so
weekend.
good.
Great weekend.
I still have an ankle bracelet. I'm in my house arrest forever. So thanks.
That's why we do this here.
That's
at
why
his
I
house.
haven't left the house in 4 days. Before we go, I want to answer this question from the chat room from the Annoying Ranter. Thank you so much for your $5 tip. It's been a minute, guys. What are your thoughts on DC streaming new shows? Titan, Swamp Thing, New Young Justice. Always awesome to catch up with you guys.
I'm excited. I'm excited about that
Yeah.
and the Harley Quinn animated
Yeah.
series. All I want is for them to just do a Booster Gold show and cast our
Yep.
boy.
Cast our boy. We actually talked about it last week with our
Yeah.
boy Pooch.
With Pooch, yep.
If you want to go back last week and talk
Yeah.
about it, but we're all kind of on board with it.
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
it's
yeah.
something. I think it's something that it's just gonna knock me back on my gumball watching.
Yeah, and I think it's really
Yeah.
cool that they're
Yeah.
interconnecting Titans and Doom Patrol. It's going to be interesting to see what comes of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely talked about it last week with Pooch quite a bit, and we talked
Yeah.
about it in other episodes too, where they've made announcements. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a really nice opportunity for DC to really do something that's very in-house, very focused. They don't have to worry about movies. They don't
Yeah.
have to worry about release
Yeah.
dates.
Yep.
It's their own streaming service. They're
Yeah.
in 100% control when it comes out, when they want to.
That's
have it
great.
come out.
That's
It's
great.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for them as a company, as a brand. And if it works out really well, who knows? Like, it could spawn new shows. It could spawn Booster Gold. You know, it
That'd
could
be
even
great.
spawn
Oh,
original
man.
movies on there. Who knows?
I would drop everything to go work on that show on Booster Gold.
Booster Gold.
Yeah.
I'm not even a writer. I don't know. I don't know. Would be a production coordinator. I don't know what I do, but I would like
Yeah.
work on that
I would.
show.
I would jump back
Pooch's
into the
assistant.
industry.
Yeah, I'd be Pooch's personal assistant.
Yeah, I would jump back into
Right?
the industry if I could.
I would
work
do
on
script
that,
notes.
right?
I'd be like, no, no,
Be like,
yes,
not Poochie
circle
enough.
this.
Actually,
yes.
he would probably bring you on
Yeah,
as
as
an
a
advisor,
consultant.
like
Hector, here's the
consultant.
thing.
Yeah.
You just come
Yeah.
on here.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, super excited about all that. But guys, thank you so much for another fun week of talking about superhero stuff. I always worry that this show will not be long enough because there's nothing to talk about.
And we went
you
half an hour
always
over.
Surprise me. That's how
Dog,
that
come
works
on.
in
You
the
know
show.
we can talk about this shit for days.
I know. It's like a endless recording. Hector, where can everybody find you on the interwebs?
Find me on the internet at Hector is Funny to keep abreast of my situations. Augustine?
You're doing a really cool animation show right now.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you
It's
so much.
really
I want
good
to get. I
stuff.
want to pick your brain about
Oh yeah.
Gumball a little bit.
Oh yeah, we should. And Lucas too. Me and Lucas need to be in this conversation.
For sure.
You can find me at L_Santo Taco.
You can just find me at Adam Havoc at all socials and hit us up on social media and let's talk about some of these movies in a kind-friendly way. Otherwise, you can find us on our Discord.
Yes.